for something big that you choose. Break it down to the root, chip away, gotta move. Push past all your limitations. Right now consider this an invitation. Make your worth go up like inflation, and start chasing your dreams, stop waiting. No need, no fear, just be everything you wanna be. Write it down what you see, don't give up, just believe, and you will succeed. Put the hours in, and you're bound to win. No need, no fear, just be everything you wanna be. Write it down what you see, don't give up, just believe, and you will succeed. Put the hours in, and you're bound to win. Yeah, let's go. New year, new me, turn it up a new degree. I'm gonna make it to the top if it's the last thing I see. Work hard every day, work hard, then we play. I'll be doing everything in my own damn way. Ain't nobody tell me shit, I'm on top of it. Writing hits that make other people feel like writing hits. We gon' get every little goal that we wanna get. Never quit, we don't even know what it means to quit. Write it down, what you want, what you need, what you see. Everything that you wanna be. Put it out in the world, that's your destiny. In your mind, what you need is to have believe. I'm gonna make it to the top, cause I never stop. My own switch doesn't have enough. I think it's broken, I think it's lost. I guess that's why I never take a loss. No fear, just be everything you wanna be. Write it down what you see, don't give up, just believe, and you will succeed. Put the hours in, and you're bound to win. No fear, just be everything you wanna be. Write it down what you see, don't give up, just believe, and you will succeed. Put the hours in, and you're bound to win. Make a deal with yourself that you'll get after it. Find something that you love, call it passion.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Marko Yamashita Show. I am your host, Marko Yamashita, and today I am bringing you something a little bit different. We are going to be doing a small news brief on NIJISANJI. Yes, the competitors for Hololive have posted their fourth quarter financial reports, and the information is quite interesting, and I think it is definitely worth covering here. Oh, let me turn down the music just a little bit here for me. Whoa, that's a little loud. There we go. And the reason why we should cover this and talk about it for a bit is because Any Color, in case for viewers that are coming in and might not know, Any Color is the only organization, Japanese organization, that is publicly traded on the stock market. And because of this, we are able to glean how the company is doing as a whole, what they are doing in order to progress the industry as far as growth and profitability, and the viability of what this means going forward for the industry when it comes to VTubers, VLivers, and other people wanting to get into the industry, other smaller agencies that are perhaps trying to make their name or push their talent in an increasingly crowded market. Any Color and NIJISANJI have been able to post the 165.2 billion yen capitalization, which is huge for any company to be able to post this type of number in the current state of how things are globally, with the fears of a global recession, fears of global income instability slowing down, and the Of course, with the whole thing with the sea thing that has been going around, Japan has been hit extremely hard with multiple waves of the sea thing going on, and I'm not going to mention that thing because the algorithm is going to kick me in the butt if I start talking about it and flag me for that. So we're going to kind of skirt that issue just a little bit. Now, what I want to make clear here, though, is that as any color, the company behind the YouTuber and the virtual VTuber project NIJISANJI posted their fourth quarter profits. They posted a year-on-year increase of 92%. According to the reporting from Business Insider, which was also reported on the Yahoo Japan, which Yahoo Japan Business Insider kicked it over, and we can see it over here on Business Insider International. All right, a 92% increase of profitability year on year. That is huge. They gained from sales for May through October period of 2022 were 11.973 billion yen. That's an increase of 92% year on year. Okay, operating profit. The operating profit for the agency was 4.31 billion yen, and that was a net income of 2.9 billion yen. That was up 143 year on year. Okay, these are huge numbers for a breakout company who is now perched and in prime position to be second place and catching up to a company like Cover and Hololive. Okay, these are huge numbers, and these are showing exactly what a company needs to do in order to continue growth and expansion within the industry and to continue to push in order to make that growth continue to resonate globally. And you have to remember that they have expanded not just their Japanese branch, but they have expanded their English branch. They have expanded multiple other branches. They don't just do Japanese and English. They do many other languages as well. All right, they do English, Korean, and Chinese. All right. So you have 3 different languages here, similar to like what Hololive is doing. Hololive has Indonesian, all right, and I don't believe, and I could be wrong, because Niji has such a huge amount of people that are doing that, within their umbrella here. But for the fact that they have been able to post these numbers, all right, these numbers with just over this past year of this amount of growth is drastically significant. All right, and this is just a glimpse of what Niji is doing. And if other companies, including like Covercore, including groups like, you have other groups out there like Prison Project, you have other groups out there like Kawaii, if they have any kind of business model similar to this, and they're able to replicate this kind of success, is gonna be able to continue to grow agencies like this, so they can continue to expand. I mean, when you're able to record a 143% increase of your operating profit, what you're doing for that year is making money. Just what you're doing, not that what you're selling or what you're putting out there or what you're hoping people are giving, on top of what you're doing. Just what you're doing is making money. That is big. All right, that is huge. Now, they're actually revising their projected forecast from 19 billion to 21 billion for next year. Okay, so they're actually projecting that they're going to be able to make or beat what they've done this year. And that is just mind blowing when you figure what they have done for this year alone. Okay, and we're gonna go over some of these things here as we move along here. Okay, we're gonna go over some of these things because they have so many different ways of showing how they are doing what they're doing and getting these types of results. Okay, in addition, we have third-party sources in order to verify this as well. Okay, now when they broke down what they had coming in as far as their growth values here show exactly where their growth is coming from and where their profitability is coming from. And they have broken it down into 4 pillars. As you can see, they have it broken down into 4 pillars of success and how they're growing their organization and this project. All right, they have a 93% increase in live streaming. They've had 120% coming in here from super chats. 93% increase from live streaming and super chats, and then they have 120% increase from original goods such as T-shirts and mugs and other things and audio content, which is just amazing. I mean, that just so significant. The one thing that they did have a dip in, and you can't really blame them for having a dip, is that they had a significant drop in revenue because they had their first ever live event, which is a significant drain on resources. And any kind of live event that you put on, it's going to be taxing on an entire organization, especially if it's like your first live event. If you're going to, put on a show and you're going to have booths there, you're going to have vendors there, you're going to have, people showing up live, you have logistics to go by, you have to do promotions, you have to be able to advertise, and this was a significant drain on their profitability. And their fourth quarter profits did reflect this. However, that being said, it wasn't such a significant hit that it damaged the overall profitability of the entire year. And in fact, it helped put their name out there even more and be able to get more exposure to the company and allow them to continue to grow. Now, one other thing that we have to touch on real quickly here, another hit that Niji did have is they did have the controversy, a couple controversies along the way, which unfortunately they did have to let go of a few talents. that those were significant hits within viewership, within profitability, within revenue and source income, so on and so forth. However, those hits that they have that they took along the way, more or less ironed out along with what came about with what happened in the industry as a whole, especially with other organizations. Hololive obviously had a couple of huge controversies this year as well, which significantly damaged their profitability. So, as a whole, I think that having a lot of these instances happen have also been able to get these two top dogs together and say, look, we need to figure out how to handle these types of things with our talent, so we can move forward and not have these things happen on such a frequent basis. Because when you look at what's going on here, and I'm going to pull up the chart here real quick. If you look at net gain on what people have come by with NIJI versus Hololive, the blue line here is NIJI, all right? And at the beginning of the year, and this is growth, this is net growth. This is not total numbers as far as like total viewership or what the total number of views or subscribers were at the end of the month. This is net growth, taking in account people that unsubscribe and the people that subscribe, people that have come on and left, right? These also take into account the top 20, just top 20 VTubers, and whoever's in the top 20, whether they're NIJI or Hololive, are included in this graph, all right? And that takes a very solid sample of who is having the most amount of growth. And if you notice in the graph here, there is a significant gap that forms this year, especially between NIJI and Hololive. And one of those gaps, the first gap happens here when they lost Russia. Hololive went extremely flat, and then they actually started decreasing and the amount of monthly total subscribers that they had in net growth versus NIJI had their English branch go live. They had all of their top dogs. They were the top 5 for multiple months. They had increasing growth, increasing popularity. They were getting top 10 and super chats per month. They were literally kings of VTubers for a lot of spring into the summer. And that gap just went crazy during the summer, especially with Hololive having multiple girls out due to either stress or because they were sick with the C thing, or they went on vacation, or they were working on projects. It really wasn't until August where that gap started coming together again. But if you also notice that the gap was universal, or the decline was universal, and it was universal across all agencies. All agencies saw this dip going into fall, and that went on into the fall, into the winter. Okay, so it wasn't like all of a sudden NIJI just dropped off and then Hololive started taking over again. It was a universal drop. All right. Now these numbers come straight from one of the most sourced aggregate sites out there, Playboard. And Playboard, as a matter of fact, put out their year-end charts. Now, these aren't, of course, these aren't total because we still have, roughly 13 days left in the year. But you can get a good estimate on what this year looked like for across the board, unless someone gets an insane amount of subscribers in the last, 13 days. But number one, you notice that Kobo had the most amount of subscribers for this year. She's number one, but right on her heels was Vox. Vox was number two, and then you get into some other people. And then you get into Rias. Rias was number three. You get Lucas. Luca is number 7. Ike is number 8. Shu is number 10. Okay, what does that tell you? What does that tell you as far as net growth coming out of 2022 into 2023? All right, these net growth numbers, if you look at the top 10, you only have one Hololive member that debuted this last year in the top 10. Whereas you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 5 Niji in the top 10. And if you notice, our number one from last year, Gura, she had an impressive, half a mil, 17% on average growth, and she is at number 12. But that's 12th compared to everyone else. And the worst thing about it, and this is not getting into a real big debate on whether or not Niji is better than Hololive, okay? But this is something that I want to emphasize real quickly. If you look at Guru's stats going in here, for this past year, she's actually on a downward trend as far as subscribers. This means that over this past year, she's having more people unsubscribe or be delisted from subscription than people that are joining her channel in Japan. And worldwide, she actually had a significant drop going off here as far as subscribers. Now, the number may continue to increase, okay? That's not what the chart means. The chart means, the trend means that on average per month, she's slowing down as far as people joining her channel. Okay, that does not mean that people necessarily are leaving faster. However, that means people are also joining slower, and that the amount of growth, overall growth, is starting to slow down. All right. Now, as one of their bigger VTubers, that means that someone else must step up in order to, quote, fill that void, in order to, keep that subscription base coming, to keep the growth going, to keep the, keep the revenue and clicks going, right? And that goes back in to what we're just talking about here. Now, when we go back into what we're looking at here, that's where you get this 93% growth on average for the amount of increase for live streaming. And then, of course, you have the super chat and monthly community memberships, which I believe, if I remember right, I believe that only accounted for roughly, I think they said 30% of their actual revenue. Let's see here. Let's break down into the pillars here, because they actually go into more detail here as far as what the pillars of the okay, fourth quarter sales. the fourth quarter sales here. Okay, so firstly, sales of live streaming such as Super Chat, which is the money that each streamer receives, was 827 million yen, which was down 44 million from the previous quarter. Now, you have to remember that they lost a couple of their biggest or their bigger VTubers during this last quarter, which can account for why they had this significant decrease. They also had a couple that had to go on hiatus during this time as well, which were significant draws that all of a sudden they just aren't there. Now, if you take into the account that they had, they actually kept up their watch time here of 42 million hours here. Let's see, 42 million hours in fourth quarter, and 42 million in fourth quarter, and 25. This quarter was at the same level as the quarter here, so they had approximately 42 million hours of recorded revenue time, which is really good. I mean, considering you have ad revenue, you have sponsorship revenue, and the amount of people that they actually have watching their shows is significant. It's huge. Let's see what else they here. They had a lot of their big names drop this year, debut this year, which brought in a lot of people. They amazingly, their EN branch that debuted, it was their most significant draw. However, the ironic part of it is that despite them being English or being able to speak English, they're of course they're males, and they have brought in the biggest amount of female viewership this past year, and that viewership comes primarily from Japan. Now, that is a very interesting concept and a very interesting note, because the further that we go on and the further that we dig into the details here, the more that we start to find why Japan is such a significant focal point for groups like Niji and Covered Hololive, and now Fisojo. Why people or the agencies are focusing so hard on Japan? It's because they are seeing they are seeing a fixed increase on average a faster increase on average of people that are joining, subscribing, staying longer, and continuing to watch content from those countries, from the country of Japan, than other places like the United States, Europe, and English-speaking countries, which is it's unfortunate in some aspects, because there's a lot of English viewers that really enjoy the content. That being said, you gotta go where the money's at, right? And here's the thing: it's the second pillar here. That's the sales pillar. The second pillar is the commerce business, like original goods and everything. Now, original goods for Niji was actually down from this previous quarter. However, there's a couple things that are involved in this, because again there was the logistics and having the whole festival and the live event going on here, which would be a big money. You spend a lot of money to prepare that kind of thing, and if you break down and look at the numbers here, the number of fixed fans increased mainly among teens to 20-year-olds that are familiar with the internet, and 82% of the fans were under the age of 30. Male to female ratio was 36 male to 64% female. And this is very interesting and a very significant number to look at, because while Hololive continues to go after the male-dominated audience of throwing out as many cute girls as they possibly can, Niji is actually being very diplomatic and very smart by being diverse and focusing as a good amount of effort into tapping into that female audience. And because of that, I mean, this is exactly why you see such a huge growth in Niji, and why the growth numbers here aren't necessarily top 10 for, I mean, they're not even top 20 for Hololive. I mean, the only ones in top 20 are Marine, who was out for a long while recovering with her throat injury, and then being sick. And then you had Gura that was out. She had needed some to rest her brain and her mental health. But I mean, even top 20, you get in the top 20 here, even get in the top 30, and top 30 is almost all dominated, until you start getting down to the bottom 30 by Niji. And you definitely have sprinkled in a lot of the female talent as well. However, you have such a huge dominated growth of male VTubers that are tapping in to this 64% increase fan ratio that are all female, and they're all within they're all among teens to 20s and up to 30 years old. And that's huge, because you have, I mean, look how many look how many young women love these male artists, K-pop, J-pop artists that come out of Japan, Korea, so on and so forth. Niji's being very smart by tapping into that demographic there, because and they're able to bolster their roster and their profitability and their image just by being able to be that diverse. Again, they were able to do their live event. They've been able to expand with their sales, their profitability with sales, commerce, being able to push their merch, which has been big. Live event, of course, they had their live event here. They actually made a return on investment here of 664 million from the previous quarter, with this live event that they had for this festival, which is really good. I mean, considering that they were down in commerce here, but they were able to make it up with 664 million from live events is big. I mean, that's big. I mean, that's a huge trade-off here. I mean, you're basically making 400 million in yen just with that trade-off. And they continue to be able to be smart about this. And I mean, according to the reports here, the reports here are talking that there were pictures of people on Twitter that were talking about, you know, the amount of the wait that they had just to get their food during that festival, which was amazing. I mean, you don't see that too often, you know. And then of course, you know, at the end here, we also have you know, promotional deals. You know, and promotional deals, you know, for them it has not been as big as what you know, a company like Cover may have at this point. However, you know, promotional deals, considering that you know, the profitability was only 15 mil up from the previous quarter. I mean, they're still, you know, they're still getting almost that kind of break even type thing with at least with this last you know, this quarter here, right? And the main thing that you're trying to do with promotion is, yeah, you're trying to get money in the promotion as well, right? But you also want to be able to, you know, get your name out there and make your money in other ways by increasing the awareness that you exist, and that's what they're doing. So, yeah, and I think again that, you know, their cooperation with Hololive here, I have some mixed feelings about this, you know, as far as you know, the announcement, the timing, and the statements that they are making. However, the intention, I believe, is very pure and sincere, as far as being able to utilize laws that are now you know, in effect in Japan, to be able to protect their talent from people that are trying, you know, to do things with malicious intent. However, I do have to challenge this as an independent person who's looking at this objectively, and wonder just how far is Any Color and Covercore actually going to stand by this statement here with their, you know, quote unquote countermeasures, and that they're going to stand by their talent. Because if it, you know, what happened with Coco and everything that happened with China and what happened with Taiwan is any indication, there's only a certain line that's a for-profit company is going to go before they say we have to pick profit over the talent, and then they have to let the talent go, and then they let the talent, you know, say, you know, you have to protect yourself, we can't do it anymore because we have to worry about our profit, our investors, so on and so forth. You know, like, you know, with Any Color, and people need to understand this really clearly. There's two different things that people need to understand about the statement that was put out with Any Color and Hololive. All right, Hololive is a private invested company that is not publicly traded. All right, so, you know, their investment groups, you know, their investors and their investment groups, you know, they can sit around in a closed room somewhere and make these decisions, and that's that. You know, I mean, they're not gonna have their stock affected by moves that are made publicly, whereas Any Color and Niji, you know, if they make a bad PR move, their stock will automatically take a public hit, and people will start selling it off, and it'll start being, you know, it will devalue. It will publicly devalue. It's not necessarily, you know, we're gonna stop, you know, we're gonna stop supporting you and buying your merch and watching you. It's not just like that with it's like that with HoloLive. Whereas I mean, unless what they really make one of their investors mad and they pull out their money and say we're not gonna help, we're not gonna be your investor anymore. That's one thing. But they're all private investors, whereas if they're publicly traded, as soon as something happens and it spooks the investors start selling off their shares, and then the company gets devalued. So any color has to be extremely careful about what they're doing and the statements that are being made. And that's why you're seeing any color, and you're seeing groups, and you're seeing Niji making a lot of moves. And these, of course, this is my opinion based upon what I'm seeing. But I believe that that's why you're seeing Niji making a lot of moves now, where they're saying, this talent, we hired them, and what they're doing now does, their activities on and off, on and off stream do not reflect our company values, or they go against what we want to promote as far as our company or core values, or or look or image, and we decide to separate ways, and we send them on, wish them best in their future endeavors. That, I believe that's why you're seeing a lot of this stuff happen now, and they're trying to do it amicably versus, letting something come to a head, and then now we have a reason to let them go, and then have something like what happened with Rushia or Coco, or any number of other incidents that come along, and they kind of try to sweep it under the rug and say, okay, well, this kind of happened but didn't happen. And we'll forget all about it. And it's kind of shaky. I think it's really shaky and a little shady as well. But I mean, that's kind of the way that you see these things happening and unfolding, and it's kind of unfortunate. But I do think that the statement itself has a very strong meaning behind it, and I do hope that they do at least back their talent to the fullest extent that they can. So with that being said, though, I do want to take a moment and also point out here that when you look at like year on end, and you look at like people like Vox has pulled in well over, and this is US dollar value, all right, and he's pulled in over $1 million just in super chat revenue. Chloe has pulled in over 800,000 this year in super chats. And you start looking at the numbers that are being dropped here for just super chat money, and this doesn't include base salary, contract salary, merch sales. This doesn't include membership sales, anything else like that. This is just super chat money. Google takes, I think, like 30% or something like that, and then of course Cover is going to, or not Cover, but Niji is probably going to take like 25%. Their manager will probably take like another 5%. So by the time they see anything out of this, they'll probably only see like, 300,000 or something like that. But I mean, these are still, 6-figure salaries that they're making just off of super chats. All right. You're talking some serious amount of money here, and you're talking, that these young talents here are making 6-figure salaries just off of super chats alone, and that's coming in as revenue for not just Niji, but also for HoloLive, Kason. She's probably going to hit. By Christmas, she's gonna hit over $500,000 here. you know. And Kei-san, you know, is independent now, you know, as opposed, she probably still has a manager somewhere, you know, or a producer or something like that, but, you know, I mean, she doesn't have a lot of, you know, she has less hands in her pie, you know. And if one were to just look at Super Chat money revenue here, one would think that Hololive is doing very good, and they are. You know, if you look at you know, most subscribed, whoops, you know, if you look at most subscribed, you know, they still have, you know, the most subscriptions. You know, if you look at most popular, you know, you still have them, you know, in the top 10. But once you start actually drilling down into actual growth, and you drill down into what the year on end looks like, and what has happened over the entire year, it's a dramatically different story, because they've had, you know, what, 3, 4, 5 years to grow, whereas these numbers here are coming out of nowhere. I mean, this is a 91% increase. You know, this is all in 1 year, and you know, and that's starting right off the gate. You know. And these numbers starting right off the gate, you know, if they're able to maintain these types of numbers going into 2023, you're going to see these guys continue to explode, and you're going to see them continue to expand and grow, and they're going to be as big as some of these other, you know, J-pop, boy band type of, you know, singers that are out there that have millions of fans, that, you know, are able to, you know, garner, you know, huge audiences just like them. We've already, you know, been able to show that this year alone, you know, Any Color and Niji have, you know, it seems like they have been determined. We are going to tap into the market that has that Hololive has largely ignored, which has been the female demographic in Japan. But if you also notice, Niji has also been smart, and they have also included a large number of English-speaking VTubers, whereas, you know, and they're bilingual, whereas Hololive has continued to push more and more and more Japanese only, more Japanese VTubers into their roster, and focusing solely on Japan. That's it. Solely on Japan, solely on the male demographic. And that's why you're starting to see that big slowdown, and you're seeing things tighten up, and you're seeing Niji having that growth split between the two different organizations. It's because, you know, you start hitting a point where you start running out of people to bring in into your fan base, right? Now, what we have also seen is that, you know, with this last announcement that Hololive put out, they are looking for bilingual, and this is word for word. They are well, almost word for word. Don't quote me 100%, but they are looking for bilingual English speaking VTubers that can speak Japanese on a professional level. That can, you know, they can talk in a business meeting on a professional level in Japanese. That's what they're looking for now. So it looks like they are seriously, you know, wanting to have those bilingual VTubers in there to be able to compete with what Niji has been putting out there. Now, whether or not they're going to be male, female, whatever, you know, I have a sense that they're probably going to push more female. But, you know, I mean, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if they didn't try at least throwing a bone at the female demographic again. But if you look at what Holostars has done, and the fact that they concentrate so little on Holostars compared to what they should be, and that Holostars doesn't seem to really get much love in the grander scheme of things. It mostly goes to that core group of Hololive JP girls. And that's sad, because there's a whole market there that is just being neglected, and they just don't seem to know how to tap into it, or are unable to tap into it correctly. But Niji seems to be having a lot of success being able to tap into that market. But I also think that, based on a lot of Japanese VTubers I've talked to, part of the appeal is having that bilingual VTuber who's able to speak English, because that gives them kind of that foreign domestic type of aura to them, that isn't just another guy from Japan, and that kind of gives them that a little bit more mystique versus it's just another Japanese VTuber trying to trying to impress me type thing. It gives them a little bit more depth, I guess you could say. That's the impression that I've been getting from a lot of people that I've talked to personally. So you can take that as a grain of salt, but I think that's something significant as well. So 2023. Do I think that Niji is going to continue growing in 2023? I think they're going to keep banging it out. I think they're going to keep growing. I think if they keep focusing on these 4 pillars what they have talked about here, continue pushing their promotion. They seem to be banging it out pretty good with promotion, with live events. They're getting their merch out there, and that merch seems to be doing really well. And of course, they are keeping up, and they have such a solid line of people who are streaming. And the biggest thing is that they have so much content and so many streamers out there that they're able to cover a lot of those gaps that Hololive just does not seem to want to cover, or they seem to really try to avoid, which makes no sense. I mean, there's an entire market out there that just does not seem to get covered, because Hololive seems to only want to focus primarily on prime time, and they are locked in that we're gonna have our girls stream maybe from 6 to 8, and then after that from 5 to 10 or 5 to midnight, and that's it. I mean, they don't seem to have that coverage for the rest of the world like they want to people to believe, despite the fact that they have Hollow Myth out there. Even Hollow Myth, it seems like that they really skirt those time zones where it's like just outside of the just barely within that little time frame where you might be able to catch them on the way home, or you might catch them like as you're falling asleep. But they never seem to really hit that prime time or like after school type of time zone where you could bring in a complete that demographic that they captivated a couple years ago. And because it's like suddenly they're not there anymore. You don't have your hollow gamers doing endurance streams of 12 hours anymore. I mean, that's what brought us in, was the fact that you had your gamers gaming, and they weren't, you weren't constantly pushing them to be, singers all the time. They were VTubers. They were VTubing. They were streaming. And that's where other companies like Any Color, like Prison Project, like Project Kawaii, and so many others. They're starting to be able to pick up that slack and say, hey, you know what? If you're not going to put content here, we're going to put content here, and we're going to we're going to flourish because of that. But the big thing is also the fact that Any Color, by being that one public company, or we can analyze and see what their company has been able to do as far as revenue and productivity, and how their company has been ran, and how things have been managed, have been able to prove that they can be viable as a company, flourish, profit, and then also continue to expand while increasing their revenue margin. And that the fact that they see a more profitable future ahead, where they feel comfortable being able to revise their income projections, despite the fact that the global economy is still rather shaky, is very ballsy. But it's also very promising, because if they're able to say, unequivocally, that in 2023, that in 2023 that they are they're going to revise their forecast from 19 billion to 21 billion. I mean, that's encouraging for anyone who is part of an agency, who runs an agency, or who is thinking about joining one, because being able to see that Any Color can flourish and have a year on year increase, a 92% increase in revenue, shows that it's not a fad. The wave isn't over. There is staying power within the industry, and just because there's tens of thousands of VTubers out there doesn't mean that you too can't be financially secure or profitable, or even make it as a talent out there. It's a matter of being able to get noticed and being able to sign on with a company like this. So, all right, guys, I think we covered it all. I think we hit it all out of the park here. I think that me personally, I've actually looked at this and thought, hey, you know what? I would actually look at seeing how I could buy stock in Any Color in the Japanese market for this price, because I mean right now I believe they're trading at something around, I think it's something like $45 a share with the conversion rate, but I don't know exactly what the fees would be for trying to buy Japanese stock. I would have to look at it more, but I mean I've actually thought about it. I mean, if they're growing at this exponential rate, and the fact that the yen is still really soft against the dollar, being able to buy into a company at this point, just so you have a share in the company, if it's publicly traded, hey, I mean, if you're gonna see gains and increases like this, I could see buying into it. I mean, if there's gonna be viability within it, and they're just going to see this continue to increase. And remember, any color isn't just VTuber, that were in VLiver. They have their hands in a lot of other things as well, and that technology is continuing to grow. So, there is a lot of other viability within the technology as well, even if someday VTubers become, something that's obsolete. The fact that there's revisions and upgrades and evolutions within the technology itself can also increase the value of that stock. So and what any color does. So I mean, that's also something to think about as well. But I'm not running a financial investment show. I'm just saying I would think about buying it, but that's something for a different time. So, anyways, I think we knocked it out of the park here, though. I think that Niji is in a very good place. I think Niji has shown us that, themselves and Hololive are going to have a very interesting and competitive year next year. It'll be very interesting to see whether or not Niji overtakes them as the top dog. And it becomes the industry leader, especially with the amount of growth and the fact that they are it seems like their culture is going in a different direction than what Hololive is doing. And it's going to be also very interesting. I think you should also keep your eyes out for a lot of the other smaller companies here being able to post these kind of profits and these kind of numbers like this. If other companies that are smaller have been able to replicate this on a smaller scale, I think you're going to see a lot of smaller companies and agencies continue to grow. They're going to get bigger. You're going to start seeing more generations come out from them. And you're going to see more people that you're going to be able to watch, more people that you're going to be able to, more content you're going to be able to absorb. And hopefully, and this is fingers crossed, hopefully more content. The more content they put out there means that they put out more quality content, and it's not just more of the same, because that's the biggest thing as well, is being able to show that just because your company is putting out a lot of content, whether or not the quality is the same or different or improved or better is a different story. So that's another thing to keep an eye out for, whether or not the content that they put out for 2023 is any better than what it was here in 2022 or before. Because if it's more of the same, you get that apathy and you get that downward spiral, and you end up losing that momentum. And you don't want that, especially as a company that relies on growth. So we'll see, though. But in the meantime, thank you so much for listening. I hope that you found the show somewhat informative. I certainly found the numbers informative. I certainly found the fact that we are on the precipice of hopefully a very interesting 2023. Let's keep our fingers crossed that we don't have any big controversies like the past couple years, because we don't need that no more. we don't need no more heartbreak and no more tears and no more anger. I mean, they're good for people like me that need the subscriptions, but I mean, I would just assume talk about good stuff like this and happy things and positive things, rather than the fact that there's another controversy, this person's stirring this up, and having to dig into that sewer that so many things seem to go into nowadays. So let's hope, fingers crossed, 2023 is a good year for VTubers, for Niji, for Hololive, for everybody. All right, I'll be back later on this afternoon. We're gonna do a little bit of peanut penguin igloo building for her community competition. Work a little bit more on that. We have several days we gotta catch up on. And then we may do a little bit of High on Life. Haven't tried that game out yet, but I heard mixed things about it, so we may just play an hour or two of it to see whether or not it's something we really want to stream or not. But other than that, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that I hope that for the next quarter that we end up having the same positivity that we've had this quarter. I really do. I'm nervous about 2023. Let's stay hopeful, right? All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until then, this is Marko Yamashita signing off. Peace.
Yeah, let's go. New year, new me, turn it up a new degree.